Well, thank you very much for coming here tonight. My name is Sten Thyssen. Audientes is a Danish technology company who are specializing in creating affordable and accessible hearing solutions. We are a group of people that have been working on this for a good few years, many of us with background at Nokia and at Danish hearing aid companies. And we have now put together, I think, a very interesting proposition that we have launched in the market this year. So let me take you through that. I would say we are in the middle of a rights issue right now. So it's a really good timing for me to be here and sharing our investment case and vision with you. Well, founded back in 2014 when Nokia were closing down its R&D facilities in Denmark, a group of people started working on the idea, why not bring the best things from mobile phones, high quality, low cost, into the hearing aid sector. Hearing aids are very expensive. We have 3 of the world's largest hearing aid companies in Denmark, and they create great solutions. The problem is there's a lot of people around the world that doesn't have a good solution that they can afford, but also a solution that they can access and actually have fitted to their hearing profile. So we started working on this. Various, you can say, investment rounds brought the product closer to market, and then we went public in 2020 during the Corona period, but we raised enough funding to complete the product development and launch our initial product in the market this year. The product called Ven, I can show you here a little box. It's selling in the Indian market today. It's a self-fitting hearing aid, and basically it's a product that we started manufacturing in larger quantities earlier this year. And there's a few things here. And started selling really in the beginning of Q2. So we are still early in the market, much earlier than our predecessor here presenting. But we are at a very interesting point in time, you can say, an inflection point. But basically, the commercial breakthrough is what we believe we have achieved this year. We put the product in the market, it's starting to sell. We are focused on professional hearing aid channels in India. And why is that? Well, it's because we found out during the course of developing the solution that we needed to have the product validated by the experts, because people, when they have a hearing challenge, they go to the doctor who advised them to go and consult an expert. So we have found out this is the right way to introduce the product in the Indian market. And that's where we are today. So we believe we have advanced a lot of our vision this year of creating accessible and affordable solutions. We expect to derive around 3.5 to 5 million Danish kroner in our initial revenue this year. And we are, of course, continuing to invest in the business. So this year, a negative EBITDA result. We hope next year that we'll get much closer to a break-even situation, even we are still quite early on in our journey. So why is it that we are focusing on India? Well, it is because a very large percentage of the world's population with hearing loss is located in the very people-rich countries in Asia and in Africa, of course, and elsewhere. So 60% of people with hearing loss, disabling hearing loss in the world, are actually in Asian countries. And India, of course, large in the world with, in India with disabling hearing loss. So this is a very good place for us to focus. The problem in the world of hearing aids today is that the current industry only sells around 17 million products every year. And there is around 500 million people with hearing loss in the world. So there's a huge gap between people who kind of need a hearing aid and those who kind of have one. And that's the gap we are trying to address in Audientes. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So the factors for why people do not get a hearing aid in time is really related to price. It's a big issue, but it's also price when you're using it, changing battery every so often. It's not everyone who in, you can say, some of the Scandinavian countries get the kind of batteries for free as part of the solution. It's a big investment for many people around the world. But there's even a bigger problem, and that is the shortage of hearing experts that can help an individual having the hearing test carried out and having a hearing aid adapted and fitted for the person's hearing. So what we have done in Audientes is to digitalize the entire process and build in the hearing clinic in our product. We think that's a really novel approach because now we can sell a product anywhere in the world and a person can within 5 to 6 minutes run the built-in hearing test and get up and running with a solution that is adapted to the person's hearing loss. So it does the self-fitting and the person's up and running in a few minutes. Our initial product is called Ven, and as you can say, Swedish people, you know what Ven stands for. It's someone that is with you everywhere where you need it, stands behind you. when you have a problem. And then helps people with hearing loss. It's a fully fledged binaural hearing aid solution, so support for 2 years. It looks like a headset, and that's why we have built it to avoid the stigmatization of hearing aids in countries like India, but also because it's a solution that allows for what we can call situational use. So basically, you can use it when you need it, and when you don't need it, you don't need to have the hearing kind of aids in the ear. And that's something that we have found out. Many people prefer that solution. It also doubles as a Bluetooth hearing kind of a headset, which means that when the hearing test has been carried out and the hearing aid is fitted to the person's hearing loss, it'll basically amplify music and sounds and so on according to the person's hearing loss. So if you have a challenge listening to music and hearing the high tones, this solution will correct for that. So to that intent, it's a really, you can say it's a versatile solution. When you're using the app that we have developed, you can also see the audiogram, which is what a doctor typically would measure out if you run a hearing test. So we can show an individual how is the hearing loss, and the person can actually share that with a doctor for keeping on top of how the hearing is developing. Now, having one product in the market is really good, but when you're looking at the world, there is a lot of, you can say, requirements for introducing a similar product in markets like the US, in Europe, and so forth. So the whole regulatory situation is something that we have been looking at. How can we as a young company come out in the market and gain a good position in more than just one market like India, where we have got the kind of regulatory situation dealt with? So we have been looking at it and decided to create what an advanced hearable. So basically, it is not a hearing aid, but it's a solution for people who are typically at a point in time where they may not be ready for a, you can say, a fully fledged hearing aid, but a solution that can help them hear better in situations like this. If you are sitting in the back, you may not be able to hear what I'm saying, but this solution will help you in that regard. Or in situations like at restaurants or at home listening to television and so forth, it's a what you call an assistive listening device. So it's building on the same hardware and software platform as Ven, but we have adapted it so it can be sold in markets around the world as a consumer appliance. So what we're working on right now, of course, is introducing this in a number of markets, and I will get back to that in a few minutes. Hearing aids, of course, is, as I said, priced in a very different category than ours. Our solution sells for around $300 to $350 in India, in local currency. And we think this solution, Companion by Audientes, will sell at the same price in the markets in our part of the world. So here is you can say, a simple comparison between the two. So Ven at one side, hearing aid, self-fitting, intended for people with up to severe hearing loss. Companion is what we call a situational hearing device, and that really is for people who need hearing enhancement. And why do we make this, you can say, separation of the two? It's because the kind of authorities deal with intended use, and Companion is not intended as a hearing aid. It is intended to help people in situations kind of prior to needing a hearing aid. Now, for many people, this will be a really good solution. There's quite significant amplification, so sounds will be reproduced at a significant level. And it has the same hallmarks technology-wise for fitting and sound clarity as Ven. But for us, it's a way of getting in to new markets. The channels we're selling it, as I said, in India, mainly professional channels. In other channels around the world, we expect this to be a really good fit for e-commerce, but also for kind of consumer electronics, opticians, and pharmacy channels. We think this is a really good fit for. So right now we are starting to work on that. We are introducing it in some markets or early next year, including Denmark and Sweden. And we'll be, of course, bringing this out into many other countries. If you have followed us on Facebook these days and LinkedIn, you will see that we have been presenting the local language versions for Japanese and Spanish and so forth. So this is what we're working on right now ahead of the market introduction. So in our rights issue, we are looking to raise in the initial emission here around 14 million Danish kroner, and it'll be followed by, you can say, a warrant utilization period where we seek to raise further 10 million. And this is to basically fund this growth plan we have of having 2 products in the market, growing the presence in India, but also now venturing into new countries. We do have FDA approval as part of our journey the coming years. So what we are working on right now is introducing a quality management system under this ISO 13485 standard in our organization. And that's part of what the use of the proceeds from this emission will be going to. A bit longer term, we are looking to enter the markets as a kind of listing here, US, Japan, Europe, and of course broadening the presence also in retail every year the coming years. And this, together with a broadening product portfolio, should give us a very good growth platform. And that's what we are, you can say, building already now. In the rights issue, as I mentioned, around 14 million is what we are seeking in the first round, Danish kroner. And part of this, of course, will go to investing further in the marketing and distribution of the Ven hearing device in India. But a larger part of that is going to be allocated to introducing and growing the sales of Companion in the key markets in the US, Europe, and Japan. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the continued development of new products and the regulatory compliance, FDA and so forth, is what we are also allocating a significant of the proceeds to. And finally, of course, as a listed company, we're listed at the Spotlight Exchange. There's a part of the funds that goes to upkeeping that and managing the business. If I can just maybe mention a few things now. This is actually a slide in Swedish. We have this rights issue where we are currently marketing the units that consist of 2 shares and 1 warrant. And the period kind of closes by Thursday next week. And the price for 1 unit is 1.5 Danish kroner. And you get basically 2 shares and 1 free tegningsoption that you can use in the latter part of March and into the early part of April. Now, the price that we're offering here is quite, you can say, competitive compared with what the share price has been. So it's a really, I would say, attractive offer aimed at initial, of course, existing investors, but also, of course, other people can subscribe. It's priced in order to really get you can say, the support for this next phase. And we are really looking forward to your, of course, interest in that sense. The option, if I can maybe just, the warrant is also priced already now. You can see all of this in this prospectus that is currently available at our own homepage, as well as on Spotlight's homepage and on Sedermera. We're working with Sedermera Corporate Finance on this. But the warrant is basically priced at the kind of the 70% discount on this volume-weighted average price, leading up to when kind of the utilization period of the warrant starts. So again, assuming the share price will be sort of at an interesting level, this is a quite interesting deal, I would say, in its own right. But please, if you're interested, please do consult our prospectus. It's a quite detailed plan that shows our entire strategy and results till date and so forth, and should provide you with a good background for evaluating our investment case further. So maybe giving you sort of the 5 key reasons for why is Audientes a good investment at this point in time. I think we have identified a very significant market opportunity that is largely unaddressed by the existing players. We are the only player in India today with our own subsidiary and a presence across 80 kind of sales partners with a total of more than 500 sales outlets. So we are today now in a market that has a big need. And the market, you can say, need is similar across many other countries. So we are really focused on addressing that. At the same time, we can see there's this growing need for solutions in a world where hearing loss is one of the biggest reasons for why people acquire kind of like a disability during their lifetime. So hearing loss is something that for many people is a reality and needs new solutions to address that need around the world. So we feel we are disrupting the traditional industry. We are providing a new, you can say, solution addressing a need that is really latent. And in that process, I think we are in a good position to continue what we have started doing. This commercial breakthrough for us was vital this year. We're in India now. We're expanding to other markets in the world. And we're playing in both, you can say, regulated markets and the non-regulated markets, which gives us just more than one leg to stand on as a business. That is a really good thing. And that's basically what I had sort of prepared for us today. Looking forward to further questions. And thank you for your interest. Thanks.
Tack så mycket. tänkte ta frågan på svenska så får du svara på engelska, Sten. Indien är ju en av de marknader där ni verkar. Varför Indien? Du nämnde det, men kan du vara vänlig att repetera så att vi verkligen förstår varför ni har börjat i Indien och varför det är så viktigt för er just nu?
Yes, I did go.
Mike.
Yes, I did go a bit quickly through that, but our founder Hussein is originally from Iran, and his vision was to help people in middle-income countries and basically low-income countries, of course, as well. But essentially, building a business, helping people that typically doesn't have another solution. India came on on our agenda because we were looking for a test market, and we got some initial funding from the Danish Market Development Fund, a government kind of fund that helps companies develop and test products in new markets. And that's why we started focusing on India in 2017. And so we have been spending 5 years there learning about the market, talking to people, building relationships. So that's why we were initially, launching in that market. Now it happens that there's a lot of really interesting drivers in that market that supports our business. It's a tough market. They're demanding and they're used to being supported well. So for us, if we can make it there, it's a really good platform for many other markets.
Okej, tack för det. Vad är det som ni gör men som era konkurrenter inte gör? Vad är det som skiljer er från era konkurrenter?
That's another good question. So I would say we have been looking at how can we innovate in the overall cost of a solution, and how can we build in some smartness that we're not linked to any, existing retail outlets or channel strategies. We can freely think about what's the way we can bring out a solution to people, the self-fitting approach. And that's essentially what we have been doing. So we are not, depending on that we have a lot of retail outlets that we own that has to do this and that. We have been able to rethink the whole solution. So this sort of Audientes way.
Okay. Frågor? Ja.
Yes, sure.
Där. Ja, okay.
Först en kort fråga. Pre-money-värdering, vad är det?
Yeah, so I think the share price today, if you look at that, it's around 20-something million. The price that has been set in this offer, I think it's around 7 point something. If you look at the share price, also the offered price for the price per share and the number of shares outstanding. So clearly a discounted offer.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It was beautiful. I have a question. So let's say a lot of this, our grandparents, they have hearing problems. I'm curious if when you go into a new market, are you using English or you are integrating the local language? As our grandparents, my grandparents, they don't speak English. Second question, what is your marketing strategy? If you could go in. Thank you.
Short answer.
Okay. So the short language is that we have voice prompts in the device that we are localizing into, for example, Japanese. And then we have the app that I have here that works with the product, that we're also localizing the kind of pages, the text into a local language like Japanese. Now, we were not going to do that for 170 countries in the world, but we're going to do it for the large markets. And so the marketing strategy, I think, again, as a younger company, we have to be really smart in how do we spend funds on marketing. So we do a lot of, collateral digital advertising, but for many of our partners, they're the ones using that. So we typically go through a local agent or a distributor in a given country. In India, we're doing it ourselves, but again, selling through retail outlets who are marketing it locally in their areas.
Okej. Har vi en fråga till, ja? Ett ögonblick. Varsågod.
Jo, är det så att ni är ju billigare än konkurrenterna? Beror det på att ni har en bättre teknologi? Beror det på att ni tillåter er att tjäna mindre Eller är det så att era är sämre än konkurrenternas?
That's a good question, and I think I mentioned that by selling through the hearing aid channels, we have been validated as being a quality that basically sits very nicely in the price performance area. So I would say our approach to building this product is that we're using a largely off-the-shelf component. So we're not designing our own chip. We're not, you can say, venturing into very, very expensive development areas. We're using what you do in the mobile phone world, components that are being offered. We have designed it ourselves, of course, and have it, you can say, built and everything, but that's the reason for why the price can be kept at that level. I would also say margins in the hearing aid business are very high. So we are, you can say, we're working with decent margins, but we're not working with kind of insane margins. Yeah. The quality is I think it's a very good solution. If you feel it, you're welcome to kind of try this one, but it's a very nice product done in a high kind of quality silicone for kind of the feel and everything. So we think it's a really good offering. You know, it is different than a normal hearing aid, but that's the sort of thing that in order to break into this market, we don't just want to do something that everyone else is doing. This is a different, you can say, take on how a hearing aid can look like and how it can be used.
Okej. Tack så mycket. Vi måste gå vidare i programmet, men Sten kommer att i pausen vara med oss, och då ni får möjlighet att titta på produkten, ta på den och känna på den och bekanta er med den. Och jag vet också att Sten har med sig ett flertal exemplar av en analys som väl beskriver bolaget och dess framtid. Så att se till om ni är intresserade att få med er ett exemplar av detta i pausen lite längre fram. Stort tack, Sten.